these papers right now, or you're finished!
Oh!
I'm not signing a damn thing! You and your thugs, get off my land!
She thought she was suing a stubborn old farmer. She was wrong. Karen Whitmore stood in the Chesterfield County courtroom, confident her HOA lawsuit would force Daniel Reeves to leave. His farmhouse sat in the center of her luxury subdivision, peeling paint, leaning barn, rusty tractor. It was destroying property values. The judge would order him to upgrade or sell. Then Daniel's attorney asked one question. "Your Honor, are you aware my client owns Riverside Community Bank?" The courtroom went silent. Karen's face went pale. She'd just remembered something she'd ignored 6 months earlier. A letter about her mortgage servicing transferring to a new lender. She'd thrown it in the recycling without reading it. Daniel Reeves wasn't just the farmer next door. He was the CEO who held the mortgages on 167 homes in the subdivision, including hers. And she was 4 months behind on payments. Karen made the mistake every entitled neighbor makes, judging someone by their truck instead of checking who holds power. She assumed wrong. This is the story of how an HOA president lost her house, career, and her reputation because she never asked one question. Who is this man I'm suing? 7 foreclosures. 1 dissolved HOA. 142 residents voting to end the organization that started the war. All because property law doesn't care how your neighbor's house looks. It cares who signs your mortgage. But let me start from the beginning. Before we dive into, I'd love to know where you're listening from today. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more interesting stories just like this. The Chesterfield County Circuit Courtroom has the smell of old wood and recycled air. It's October 2025, mid-morning, and the fluorescent lights hum softly overhead. The gallery is half full, mostly residents from Magnolia Heights subdivision, curious about the case. A few reporters sit in the back row, notepads open. At the defendant's table sits Daniel Reeves. He's 58 years old, wearing a flannel shirt, faded jeans, and work boots that look like they've walked through mud more times than courtrooms. His hair is gray and thinning. His hands are calloused, weathered from decades of outdoor work. He looks exactly like what Karen Whitmore thinks he is, a stubborn old farmer who refuses to move with the times. Next to Daniel sits his attorney, Grace Chen. She's in her 50s, wearing a tailored navy suit, her dark hair pulled back in a severe bun. Her briefcase is expensive leather, her shoes polished to a shine. She looks like she belongs in a Washington, D.C. boardroom, not a small-town Virginia courtroom, because she does. Grace is one of the top real estate attorneys on the East Coast, but she's here as a favor. Daniel Reeves isn't just a client. He's an old friend. Across the aisle, at the plaintiff's table, sits Karen Whitmore and her attorney, Mitchell Carver. Karen is 54, blonde. Wearing a cream-colored blazer and pearls, she looks polished, confident, like someone who's used to getting her way. She's the president of the Magnolia Heights Homeowners Association. She's been trying to get rid of Daniel Reeves for 18 months. Mitchell Carver is in his mid-40s, wearing an expensive charcoal suit and a silk tie. His hair is slicked back, his cufflinks flash when he moves. He's the kind of lawyer who charges $450 an hour and makes sure you know it. He represents the HOA, and he's confident they're going to win. The Judge Honorable Patricia Hendricks. Mid-60s, gray hair, no-nonsense expressions. It's behind the bench, reviewing documents. She's been a circuit court judge for 20 years. She's seen a lot of property disputes. This one seemed straightforward when she read the briefs. It's an old farmhouse in the middle of a luxury subdivision. A stubborn owner refusing to upgrade. A community trying to protect property values. Simple. Or so she thought. "Mr. Carver," Judge Hendricks says, looking up. "You may call your first witness." Mitchell stands, buttons his jacket. "Thank you, Your Honor." The plaintiff calls Karen Whitmore. Karen walks to the witness stand, is sworn in, sits down. She smooths her blazer, folds her hands in her lap. She looks calm, composed. She's rehearsed this. "It's Whitmore," Mitchell begins. "Can you describe your role in the Magnolia Heights community?" "The president of the Homeowners Association," Karen says. "I've lived in Magnolia Heights for 2 years. I was elected president last year. And what prompted this lawsuit? Karen takes a breath, looks at the judge. Your Honor, Daniel Reeves owns a property in the center of our subdivision, a farmhouse. It's old, unmaintained, and frankly, it's an eyesore. The paint is peeling. The barn is falling apart. There's rusty farm equipment scattered around. It looks like a junkyard. And it's surrounded by homes worth $700,000 to over $1 million. Mitchell projects photos onto a screen. The first image shows Daniel's farmhouse, a 2-story wooden structure. White paint faded and chipped, shutters hanging crooked. The roof has visible patches. Behind it, an old barn leans slightly to one side, its red paint almost entirely worn away. In the foreground, an ancient tractor sits on cinder blocks, rust covering the wheel wells. The second image shows the subdivision. Pristine 2-story homes with manicured lawns, fresh paint, brick facades. Magnolia trees line the streets. Looks like a magazine spread. The contrast is stark. Ms. Whitmore, Mitchell continues, how has Mr. Reeves's property affected the community? It's destroying our property values, Karen says, her voice rising slightly. People drive through our neighborhood and the first thing they see is that farmhouse. It's embarrassing. We've had potential buyers walk away from homes because they didn't want to live next to ... that. She gestures toward Daniel without looking at him. And have you attempted to resolve this issue with Mr. Reeves? Multiple times, Karen says. I've spoken with him personally. I've sent letters on behalf of the HOA. We've offered to help him renovate. We even offered to pay for part of the work. Refuse everything. Did he give a reason? He said it's his family's property and he'll do what he wants with it, Karen says. He doesn't care about the community. Doesn't care that he's hurting the rest of us. Mitchell nods, turns to the judge. Your Honor, Mr. Reeves has been offered generous compensation for his property. The original developer offered him $2 million. He refused. The HOA offered to subsidize renovations. He refused. He's had every opportunity to be a good neighbor, and he's chosen not to. The community has rights too. Judge Hendricks glances at Daniel, who's sitting quietly, expression neutral. Mr. Reeves, you'll have your chance to respond. Mr. Carver, anything else? Just one more point, Your Honor. Mitchell projects another document. In August 2025, Chesterfield County passed Ordinance 2025-47, the Neighborhood Standards Act. It requires property owners in residential zones to maintain their properties according to community aesthetic standards. Mr. Reeves's property is in clear violation. We're asking the court to enforce the ordinance and order Mr. Reeves to either upgrade his property to meet community standards or sell it. Judge Hendricks leans back, looks at the photos again. She doesn't look thrilled, but she's listening. Miss Chen, does your client have a response? Grace stands. She doesn't rush. She takes her time smoothing her jacket, picking up a tablet. Yes, Your Honor. But before we address the merits of the HOA's claims, I'd like to introduce evidence. That fundamentally changes the nature of this case. Mitchell frowns. Karen's expression shifts slightly. She looks puzzled. Judge Hendricks raises an eyebrow. Proceed. Grace taps her tablet. A document appears on the screen. Riverside Community Bank. Mortgage Portfolio Acquisition Agreement. March 2024, Your Honor, Grace says, her voice calm and precise. My client, Daniel Reeves, is the CEO and majority shareholder of Riverside Community Bank, a regional lender with over $400 million in assets. In March 2020, for 7 months before this lawsuit was filed, Mr. Reeves's bank acquired the mortgage portfolio for Magnolia Heights subdivision from the original lender, his First National Mortgage Group. The courtroom is very quiet now. Grace continues. Mr. Reeves now holds the mortgages on 167 of the 180 homes in the subdivision. She pauses. Lets that sink in, including the home of the plaintiff, Ms. Karen Whitmore. Karen's face goes pale. Her mouth opens slightly, but no sound comes out. Mitchell's expression hardens. Your Honor, Grace doesn't stop. Every one of those mortgages contains a standard acceleration clause, which is legal and enforceable under Virginia law. The clause allows the lender in this case, Mr. Reeves to demand immediate full payment of the loan if the collateral, meaning the home, is threatened with a loss of value. Judge Hendricks leans forward. Counselor, what's your point? My point, Your Honor, is this. If the HOA succeeds in forcing Mr. Reeves off his property, and if property values decline as a result, which the HOA itself claims will happen then, Mr. Reeves has the legal right to accelerate every one of those 167 mortgages. That means 167 homeowners would be required to pay off their loans in full, immediately. We're talking about approximately $120 million in outstanding mortgage debt. The courtroom erupts. Residents in the gallery start whispering, some standing. Judge Hendricks bangs her gavel. Order. Order. Mitchell shoots to his feet. Your Honor, that's extortion. This is a blatant attempt to intimidate. No, Mr. Carver. Grace's voice is sharp now. It's contract law. Your client signed those mortgages. They agreed to the terms, including the acceleration clause. Mr. Reeves is simply informing the courtan, the HOA, of his legal rights. If the HOA forces him off his property and property values drop, he has every right to protect his collateral. Judge Hendricks looks at Daniel, who's been sitting quietly the entire time. Mr. Reeves. Is this accurate? Daniel stands. He's slow about it. Like standing in court isn't something he does often. Yes, Your Honor, he says. His voice is soft, calm, with a slight Virginia drawl. I bought that mortgage portfolio as a business investment. My bank has been the lender for Magnolia Heights since March 2024. I've been fair to every borrower. If someone pays on time, they never hear from me. But if this HOA tries to force me off land my family's owned since 1895, I'll protect my interests. And that includes the value of the collateral securing those loans. Judge Hendricks's expression is unreadable. She looks at Mitchell. Mr. Carver, does your client wish to proceed with this lawsuit? Mitchell turns to Karen, leans down. They whisper frantically. Karen's shaking her head, her face red now, her hands trembling. She whispers something sharp. She shakes her head again. Mitchell straightens, clears his throat. Your Honor, we need to reassess. 2. Consult with our client and the HOA board. Judge Hendricks sighs. Motion to recess granted. 1 hour. We'll reconvene at noon. She bangs the gavel. The courtroom explodes into noise. Residents are talking loudly, some shouting. A reporter in the back row is already on her phone. Karen sits frozen at the plaintiff's table, staring at Daniel. Her expression is a mix of shock, fury, and something close to panic. Daniel sits back down, folds his hands. Grace leans over, whispers something to him. He nods. Across the aisle, Mitchell is gathering his papers, his jaw tight. Erin finally stands, her legs unsteady. She looks at Daniel one more time, and her expression is pure hatred. But behind the hatred is fear, because Karen Whitmore just realized something. She thought she was suing a powerless old farmer. She just found out she was suing the man who could take her house with one phone call. I grew up in that farmhouse, not the pristine version you see in magazines, with fresh paint and flower boxes and a perfectly restored barn. The real version, the one with creaky floors and drafty windows and a kitchen that hadn't been updated since the 1950s. The one where you could hear mice in the walls at night and the roof leaked when it rained hard. But it was home. My great-grandfather, William Reeves, bought the land in 1895, 5 acres on the outskirts of what's now suburban Richmond, Virginia. Back then, it was pure countryside farmland as far as you could see. Dirt roads, neighbors a mile apart. William built the house himself. Timber. Frame. White clapboard siding. 2 stories, 4 bedrooms, a wraparound porch. He raised tobacco on the land. Made enough to feed his family? Not much more. My grandfather took over in the 1930s, switched from tobacco to soybeans. My father inherited it in 1968, the year I was born. By then, the suburbs were creeping closer, developments going up a few miles away, highways being built, but our land stayed untouched. My father ran a small-scale produce operation, cucumbers, squash, sold them at roadside stands and farmers markets. We were poor, not desperate, but poor. My clothes were hand-me-downs. We ate what we grew. My father drove a pickup truck that was older than I was. I didn't know we were poor. Not really. Thought everyone lived like that. My father taught me how to work, how to wake up at dawn and check the fields, how to fix a fence, patch a roof, keep equipment running with duct tape and stubbornness. He wasn't educated, didn't finish high school, but he was smart in the ways that mattered. He knew land, he knew weather, he knew how to survive. He died when I was 17. Heart attack. Middle of the day, middle of summer, 1985. He was 49 years old. My mother found him collapsed in the barn. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was gone. I was supposed to start college that fall, University of Virginia, full scholarship. I'd gotten perfect SAT scores, straight A's, teachers telling me I was going places. But after my father died, I almost didn't go. My mother needed help. The farm needed running. She wouldn't let me stay. Your father wanted you to go, she said. He wanted you to have more than this. Don't waste it. So I went. Studied finance, lived in the dorms, worked part-time jobs, came home on weekends to help my mother. She kept the farm going, barely. Sold. Off most of the equipment, leased some of the land to neighbors. It wasn't a farm anymore, really. Gosh. Just a house on 5 acres with a woman living alone. I graduated in 1989, got a job at a bank in Richmond. Entry level, nothing glamorous. Loan officer. I was good at it. I understood numbers, risk, how money moved. I got promoted, then promoted again. By the mid-1990s, I was managing a branch. By 2000, I was a regional vice president, and I started to see something. Big banks didn't care about small borrowers, didn't care about local businesses, family farms, people who needed $20,000 to keep their shop open or $50,000 to buy a house. Big banks wanted big loans, big returns, low risk. If you didn't fit their model, you were invisible. So in 2003, I started Riverside Community Bank. Small at first. 1 branch, 4 employees, $5 million in startup capital I'd scraped together from investors and my own savings. We focused on community lendings, small businesses, working families, first-time homebuyers, people the big banks ignored. It grew. By 2010, we had 5 branches. By 2015, 12. By 2020, assets over $400 million. We became one of the largest community banks in Virginia. I became wealthy, not billionaire wealthy, but comfortable, very comfortable. And I never left the farmhouse. People ask me why. Investors, colleagues. Friends, you're a CEO. You should live like one. Buy a mansion. Move to Richmond. Join a country club. I didn't want that. The farmhouse was my home. It was my father's home, my grandfather's, my great-grandfather's. It had history. It had weight. Money didn't change that. My mother died in 2015. She was 82. She died in her sleep in the bedroom she'd shared with my father for 30 years. I inherited the property. By then, the suburbs had crept even closer. Developments everywhere. Strip malls, traffic, but my 5 acres stayed untouched. I kept living there. Kept the house maintained, not fancy, but functional. Kept chickens, because my mother always had chickens. Kept the old barn standing, even though it leaned a little and the paint was gone. It was part of the landscape. It was part of the history then. In 2022, a developer came knocking. Crescent Homes LLC, big regional developer. Built luxury subdivisions all over Virginia. They'd bought 150 acres adjacent to my property. They wanted my 5 acres to complete their project. The sales rep, slick guy in his 30s, expensive suit, sat in my kitchen and laid out the offer. $2 million, cash. More than fair. Market value, Mr. Reeves? You could buy a beautiful home anywhere you want. I said no. He looked confused. Mr. Reeves, this is a generous offer. Your property it's old. It needs work. $2 million would let you. It's my family's home, I said. It's not for sale. He tried again. Came back a week later with a revised offer, $2.2 million. I said no. He came back again, $2.5 million, plus they'd help me find a new property. Said no. Eventually, he stopped coming. Crescent Homes built their subdivision anyway. They just built it around me. Magnolia Heights. 180 homes on winding streets with names like Willow Grove Lane and Heritage Oak Drive. Homes priced between $700,000 and $1.2 million. Brick facades, two-car garages, professionally landscaped yards. Marketed as luxury living in historic Virginia countryside. My farmhouse sat right in the middle. Literally. If you drove into the subdivision from the main entrance, the first thing you saw was my property. 5 acres of old trees, overgrown grass, a weathered farmhouse, and a leaning barn. An island of the past and a sea of the present. At first, the neighbors were curious, polite. They'd wave when they drove past. Few stopped by to introduce themselves. "We love the historic character of your home," they'd say. "It adds charm to the neighborhood." I'd nod, thank them, keep to myself. But then Karen Whitmore moved in. That was 2023. She bought a house on the northern edge of the subdivision. 900,000 Australian dollars colonial with a 3-car garage. She was a real estate agent, had been for 20 years, and she was obsessed with property values. Everything was about comps, market trends, resale potential. She didn't like my farmhouse. The first time she came to my door, she was friendly. Smiled, introduced herself, brought a basket of muffins. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said, even though I'd been there 50 years longer than her. "Just wanted to chat about your property," she said. "It's such a lovely piece of history. But I think with a little updating, it could really shine. Fresh paint, maybe replace that barn, clean up the yard. The HOA has funds for community improvement projects. We could help." I thanked her for the muffins and told her I wasn't interested. Her smile tightened. "Mr. Reeves, I think you should consider it. Your property is very visible. It's the first thing people see when they enter the neighborhood. Right now it looks run down. It's a 130-year-old farmhouse," I said. "It's supposed to look old, but it doesn't have to look neglected. I maintain it fine." Her smile disappeared. "Mr. Reeves, I'm trying to be neighborly here, but your property is affecting everyone's home values. You need to think about the community." "I am thinking about the community," I said. "I'm not bothering anyone. I keep to myself. If people don't like how my house looks, they don't have to look at it." She left, didn't take the muffin basket with her. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from the Magnolia Heights HOA. Formal, printed on official letterhead, listed violations, peeling paint, unmaintained barn, unsightly farm equipment, my grandfather's old tractor, which I kept for sentimental reasons, and chickens. Apparently livestock wasn't allowed in the subdivision. I read the letter and threw it away. My property predated the HOA by 127 years. I wasn't subject to their rules. They had no authority over me. Karen didn't stop. Next year, she sent more letters. Showed up at my door 3 more times. Organized a petition, 150 residents signed it, demanding I upgrade or leave. She even tried to get the county involved, claiming my property was a health hazard. It wasn't. I ignored all of it. I had work to do. A bank to run. A life to live. But in March 2024, something happened that Karen didn't know about. My bank acquired the mortgage portfolio for Magnolia Heights. It was a standard business transaction. First National Mortgage Group, the original lender for the subdivision, wanted to offload some regional mortgages. They were consolidating, focusing on larger markets. My bank was expanding. We bought the portfolio, 167 mortgages, about $140 million in outstanding debt. I didn't plan it as leverage against the HOA. I didn't even think about the HOA when we made the deal. It was just good business. Solid collateral, reliable borrowers, decent interest rates, but I didn't advertise it either. Borrowers got letters notifying them that their loan servicing had transferred to Riverside Community Bank. Most people don't read those letters. They keep making payments to whoever sends the bill. As long as the terms don't change, they don't care who holds the mortgage. Karen got one of those letters. I know because my bank's records show it was mailed to her address. She didn't read it. By the summer of 2024, Karen's harassment campaign had escalated. She was posting about me on social media, calling me a blight on the community. She organized neighborhood meetings to discuss the farmhouse problem. She contacted county officials, pushing for stricter property maintenance laws. In September 2025, the county passed Ordinance 2025-47, the Neighborhood Standards Act. It was vague, poorly written, pushed through by developer lobbying and HOA pressure. It required property owners in residential zones to maintain aesthetic standards consistent with the surrounding community. Karen saw her opening in October 2025. The Magnolia Heights HOA filed a lawsuit against me. They claimed my property violated the new ordinance, depressed property values, and constituted a community blight. They wanted a court order forcing me to upgrade the property or sell it. I hired Grace Chen. Grace and I went to UVA together. We were in the same economics class freshman year, became friends, stayed in touch over the decades. She went to law. School became one of the best real estate attorneys on the East Coast. When I called her about the lawsuit, she didn't hesitate. "They're suing you over a farmhouse," she said. "That's insane." "That's Karen Whitmore," I said. Grace flew down from D.C., reviewed the case, and started digging. She discovered the mortgage connection within a week. "Daniel," she said on the phone, "do you realize you own their mortgages?" "I know," I said. "Do they know?" "I don't think so." There was a pause. Then Grace laughed. "Oh, this is going to be fun." We planned the courtroom strategy carefully. Let Karen and her lawyer make their case. Let them feel confident. Then drop the bomb. And that's exactly what we did. Karen thought she had me cornered. Thought I was just a stubborn old man clinging to the past. Thought she could pressure me, sue me, force me out. She had no idea I'd been holding all the cards from the beginning. The conference room down the hall from the courtroom is small and windowless. Karen and Mitchell huddle around a scratched wooden table, the door half closed behind them. Karen's hands are shaking. Her face is flushed red, a combination of anger and panic. "He owns my mortgage?" Her voice is too loud. "How is that even possible?" Mitchell loosens his tie, sits down heavily. "Banks buy and sell mortgage portfolios all the time, Karen. It's standard practice. The terms of your loan don't change, just who you're paying. If borrowers get notified, but most people don't pay attention." Karen's mind races back. March 2024, she'd gotten a letter. Something about loan servicing transfer. She'd glanced at it. Saw her payment amount was the same, and threw it in the recycling. She got a dozen financial notices every month. "Who reads all of them? This is insane," she says. "He can't actually call the loans due, can he?" "That would be retaliation. That's illegal." Mitchell starts to answer, but a voice from the hallway interrupts. "Actually, he can." They both turn. Grace Chen is standing just outside the door, which neither of them had fully closed. She's holding her tablet, expression neutral. "Acceleration clauses are standard in every mortgage contract," Grace says. If the lender can demonstrate that the collateral, the home, is at risk of losing value, they have legal grounds to accelerate the loan. That means demanding full payment immediately. It's rarely exercised, but it's legal." Mitchell's jaw tightens. "You're eavesdropping?" "You left the door open." Grace doesn't move. "And for the record, Mr. Reeves doesn't need the acceleration clause. Anyone who's behind on payments is already in default. He can foreclose under standard terms." Karen's face goes white. The room tilts slightly. Mitchell looks at her. "Karen, you're current on your mortgage, right?" Karen opens her mouth, closes it, opens it again. I'm 3 months behind." "What?" "The real estate market's been slow," Karen says quickly. "Commissions are down. Had some expenses. I was going to catch up this month. I have a closing. Next week I was going to make a lump payment 3 months." Mitchell stands up, pacing. "Karen, that's 90 days overdue. It's foreclosure territory. I know, but I was handling it. He doesn't even need to threaten acceleration. Mitchell says, he can foreclose on you right now for non-payment. You're in default. Karen feels like she can't breathe. Grace is still standing in the hallway, watching. Karen wants to scream at her, but she can't find the words. Grace turns and walks away, heels clicking on the tile floor. Karen's panic spreads. Fast, she pulls out her phone with trembling hands, starts texting the HOA board members. Emergency meeting now. Courthouse hallway, within 5 minutes. 6 of them are gathered near the vending machines. Tom Hendricks, the treasurer, a beard, wearing a windbreaker. Lisa Vaughn, the secretary, early 40s, blonde. Yoga instructor, Brad Morrison. The vice president, late 30s, works in tech, always wearing a Patagonia vest. And 3 others, Maria Santos, Greg Palmer, Keith Robbins. Karen explains the situation quickly. Words tumbling out. Daniel owns the bank. The bank owns their mortgages. He can call the loans due. Tom pulls out his phone immediately, opens his banking app. His face goes pale. Jesus Christ, Karen. Riverside Community Bank. That's Daniel's. Bank. Lisa checks her phone. I have my mortgage with them too. Me too. Maria, Greg, Keith, same. The realization spreads like a shockwave through the group. Almost everyone in the subdivision has their mortgage with Riverside, Tom says. Slowly, we all got our loans through First National originally, but First National sold the portfolio. To Daniel, Brad says, they all turn to look at Karen. Why the hell did you sue him without checking this? Tom's voice is rising now. You're the HOA president. You're supposed to do your homework before you file a lawsuit. Psst. How was I supposed to know he owned a bank? Karen snaps back. He lives in a shack. He dresses like a farmer. He drives a truck older than my daughter. That's exactly why you should have checked, Tom says. You made assumptions. Now you've put all of us at risk. Lisa looks like she's about to cry. If he calls my loan due, I'll lose my house. I don't have $640,000 in cash sitting around. None of us do, Brad says. That's the whole point of a mortgage. Karen tries to defend herself. He's bluffing. He won't actually do it. It would be a PR nightmare. He'd destroy his own bank's reputation. Tom starts texting on his phone. Within seconds, he's forwarding the news to other residents. Word spreads through the subdivision like wildfire. Within 30 minutes, the courthouse lobby is filling with Magnolia Heights homeowners. Some came because they were already at the trial. Others drove over after getting frantic texts. Amanda Pierce, 38-year-old elementary school teacher, pushes through the crowd toward Karen. You sued the man who holds my mortgage? You insane? Jay Kowalski, engineer, is right behind her. If he calls my loan due, I'll lose everything. I don't have $680,000 in cash. Do you understand what you've done? He's not going to do it, Karen says, but her voice is shaking. He's trying to scare us. A Grace. Chen walks past at that exact moment, heading toward the courtroom. She doesn't stop, but she says over her shoulder, loud enough for everyone to hear. Mr. Reeves doesn't bluff. The crowd goes silent. Court reconvenes at noon. Judge Hendricks returns to the bench, takes her seat. The gallery's packed now, standing. Room only. Residents from Magnolia Heights fill every available space. The energy in the room is tense, electric. Mr. Carver. The judge says, have you consulted with your client? Mitchell stands. His expression is tight, controlled. Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff wishes to withdraw the lawsuit. Immediately, Judge Hendricks raises an eyebrow. Motion granted. Case dismissed. She bangs the gavel once. Karen sits frozen. At the plaintiff's table, her face is blotchy, her hands clenched in her lap. She looks like she's going to cry, but won't let herself. Daniel stands, nods politely to the judge. He picks up his jacket from the back of his chair, walks toward the exit. Grace follows him. Neither of them looks at Karen. The courtroom erupts into murmurs as they leave. Outside the courthouse, the October sun is bright and cool. Reporters are waiting on the steps. 3 local news crews, a couple of print journalists. Word had leaked during the recess that something unusual was happening. A reporter with a microphone rushes toward Daniel. Mr. Reeves, did you buy those? Mortgages to intimidate the HOA? Daniel stops, turns to face the camera. His expression is calm, almost tired. No, I bought them as a business investment in March 2024. The lawsuit wasn't filed until October 2025. 7 months later, I had no way of knowing this would happen. You accelerate the mortgages? Another reporter shouts. Not unless I have to, Daniel says. I'm a fair lender. People who pay on time have nothing to worry about. I've never foreclosed on anyone who kept their end of the agreement. Grace steps forward. That's all. Thank you. She and Daniel walk toward the parking lot. The cameras follow them. Daniel unlocks a faded blue 1998 Ford F-150. The paint is chipped. One of the side mirrors is held on with duct tape. He climbs in, starts the engine with a rattling cough. One of the reporters leans toward her cameraman and whispers, That's the guy who owns a $400 million bank? The cameraman zooms in on the truck as it pulls away. Back at the courthouse, Karen is leaving through a side exit, trying to avoid the cameras. But she's surrounded almost immediately not by reporters but by residents. Tom Hendrick steps directly into her path. You're done, Karen. We're calling a vote to remove you as HOA president. You can't watch us. Lisa Vaughn interrupts. Her voice is cold. Emergency meeting. Tomorrow night at the community center. Bring your resignation. Brad Morrison crosses his arms. You put every single one of us at risk because you couldn't let go of a grudge. I've got 2 kids and a mortgage. If Daniel Reeves decides to call my loan, I'm homeless because of you. Karen tries to push past them, but Maria Santos blocks her way. You told us this lawsuit was a sure thing. Said we had the law on our side. We did, you lied, Greg Palmer says. You were incompetent. Either way, you're finished. Karen finally shoves through the crowd, almost running toward her car. Her hands are shaking so badly she drops her keys twice before she gets the door open. She climbs in, slams the door, and sits there for a moment, breathing hard, through the windshield. She can see the other residents talking in clusters. Some are looking at her car, some are still yelling. She starts the engine and drives away. That evening, Daniel returns to his farmhouse. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the property. He parks the truck in the gravel driveway, walks to the chicken coop behind the barn. His chicken 6 hens, Rhode Island Reds rush toward him, clucking expectantly. He scatters feed, checks their water, latches the coop door. Then he walks to the porch, sits down in the old rocking chair that's been there since his father's time. His phone rings. Grace. You handled that well, she says. I didn't want this, Grace. I know, but they pushed you. Daniel looks out at the fields, the old barn silhouetted against the darkening sky. You think they'll leave me alone now? Grace pauses. Karen. No, she's not the type to let go. She's humiliated, angry, and backed into a corner. That's dangerous. But the rest of them? They'll fall in line. They know it's at stake now. Daniel sighs. I just want to live in peace, I know Grace says. But sometimes peace has a price. They talk for a few more minutes, then hang up. Daniel sits on the porch as the stars come out, listening to the crickets. The distant sound of traffic from the subdivision. He thinks about Karen's face in the courtroom. The shock. The rage. Grace is right. Karen isn't done. Karen lost the lawsuit. But she didn't lose her anger, and that was going to be a problem. I'd wake up at 5:30 a.m., same as every day. Make coffee in the old percolator my mother used. Stand on the porch while it's still dark, listening to the world wake up. 2 weeks since the trial. 2 weeks since Karen's lawsuit collapsed in that courtroom. I thought it was over. I walked down the gravel driveway toward the road to get the newspaper. Yes, us. I still get the physical paper, and I see it immediately. My mailbox is destroyed. The post is bent at a 45-degree angle. The metal box smashed in like someone took a baseball bat to it. Letters and flyers are scattered across the grass, damp with morning dew. I stand there, a coffee mug in my hand, staring at the wreckage. This is the 3rd incident this week. Monday morning, I found eggs thrown at the side of the farmhouse. Yolk running down the clapboard siding. Shells stuck in the dried paint. It took me an hour to clean it off Wednesday. Someone dumped a bag of trash at the entrance to my driveway. Fast food wrappers, empty bottles, spoiled food. I had to pick it up piece by piece, load it into garbage bags, haul it away myself. And now this, I know who's behind it. I don't have proof, but I know Karen Whitmore. The week after the trial, the HOA held an emergency meeting. I wasn't there, I was invited, but I declined. Grace told me what happened. The board voted 6-1 to remove Karen as president. The only vote against was Karen's own. Tom Hendricks, the treasurer, was elected the new president. His first act was to issue a formal apology to me on behalf of the HOA. He sent it in a letter, hand-delivered to my door. Mr. Reeves, we deeply regret the conflict that has arisen. The board recognizes that your property predates the subdivision and is not subject to HOA rules. We promise no further harassment and hope to coexist peacefully as neighbors. I appreciated the gesture. I thought maybe things would settle down, but Karen refused to resign from the board. She kept her seat as a member at large. According to Tom, she's been seething ever since. I pick up my scattered mail, straighten what I can of the mailbox post. It's too bent to fix properly. I'll need to replace it. I walk back to the house. My coffee cold now. Karen starts a private Facebook group 2 days after losing her position as president. I don't have Facebook, never saw the point, but my neighbor Diane Chen tells me about it. Diane is 62, a retired high school teacher who lives 3 houses down from the entrance to the subdivision. She's one of the few people in Magnolia Heights who's been consistently kind to me. She stops by one afternoon, looking concerned. Daniel, you need to know something, she says. Karen started a Facebook group. She calls it Magnolia Heights Property Values Defense. It has 47 members. Out of 180 homes? Yes. Not exactly a majority. But she posts about you constantly. 3-4 times a day.
Ow!
Still refuses to upgrade his property. His barn is an eyesore. We have rights to. That kind of thing. I sigh. Let her talk. I'm not bothering anyone. It's Daniel. I think she's organizing something. Some of the posts talk about taking action and making a stand. I just wanted you to be careful. I will. Thanks, Diane. She leaves, and I sit on the porch, looking out at the subdivision. I can see the rooftops of the houses, the manicured streets, the identical mailboxes lining the road. I don't want trouble. I never did. But trouble keeps finding me. Saturday morning, early November. I wake to the sound of voices outside. At first I think it's neighbors talking on the street. But the voices are too loud, too many of them. I get out of bed, pull on jeans and a flannel shirt, walk to the window. There are people on my driveway. 20, maybe 30 of them. Standing in a cluster near the road, holding signs. I can read some of them from here. Upgrade or leave. Respect. The neighborhood, stop holding us hostage. And at the front of the group, holding a megaphone, is Karen Whitmore. Daniel Reeves. Her voice crackles through the speaker, loud and distorted. Come out and talk to us. We deserve answers. I stand. At the window, watching. My chest feels tight. This is my property, my home. And they're standing on my driveway like they own it. I pull out my phone, call Grace Chen. She answers on the second ring. Daniel, there are protesters on my property. Karen Whitmore and about 30 people. What do I do? Don't engage, Grace. Says immediately, do not go outside. Call the sheriff. They're trespassing. I hang up, dial the sheriff's office. The dispatcher takes my information, says deputies are on the way. I wait. The protesters keep chanting. I can't make out all the, words. But I hear my name over and over. 15 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser pulls up. Deputy Martinez-Ive, met him before, filed reports with him, steps out, walks toward the group. Ma'am, he says to Karen, this is private property. You need to leave. Karen lowers the megaphone. We have a right to protest, not on private property. You don't. You have 5 minutes to clear out, or I start making arrests. The crowd grumbles. shifts. A few people start walking toward their cars immediately. Others hesitate, looking at Karen, glares at Martinez, then turns toward my house. She looks directly at the window where I'm standing. "This isn't over," she mouths. Then she turns and walks away. The rest of the protesters follow. Martinez stays for a few minutes, talking to me through the front door. "You want to press charges?" "Not yet," I say. "Just get them off my property. You got it? We'll increase patrols in the area. But if this happens again, call us immediately." Willie leaves. I sit on the porch watching the last of the cars disappear down the road. 2 days later, the story hits the local news. The segment airs on Monday evening. I don't watch it, but Diane records it and brings me a copy on a USB drive. The title card reads, "Suburban David versus Goliath. HOA battles bank CEO over historic farmhouse." The reporter interviews Karen outside her home. She's wearing a blazer. Makeup perfect, hairstyled. She looks composed, reasonable. "He's using his wealth and power to bully an entire neighborhood," Karen says. "We just want him to maintain basic standards. Paint his house. Repair his barn. Be a good neighbor," the interviewer asks. "But his property isn't subject to HOA rules. Correct?" "Technically no," Karen says, "but morally. He has a responsibility to his neighbors. We all live here together. His property affects all of us." The segment shows photos. My weathered farmhouse next to the pristine subdivision homes. The contrast is stark. They make me look like the villain, the stubborn hermit disrupting a peaceful community. The story goes semi-viral locally, regional. News outlets pick it up. Start getting emails at the bank, messages from people I don't know. Some supportive, most not grace calls, "Don't comment, don't engage, let it blow over." I agree. I stay silent. But the letters keep coming. Anonymous notes slipped into my mailbox or left on my porch. Most are printed, no handwriting to trace. "Sell and leave. You're not welcome here. Go back to whatever hole you came from." One is particularly nasty. "You know you're home alone. Old farmhouses burn easy. I take that one to the sheriff's office." Martinez reads it, his expression grim. "We'll increase patrols," he says, "but unless you have proof of who sent it, ... I know who's behind this. Knowing and proving are different things, Mr. Reeves." I leave the sheriff's office feeling helpless, angry. Mid-November. I walk out to the barn one morning and find it vandalized. Someone spray-painted "Leave" in huge red letters across the side. The paint is still wet, dripping. Down the weathered wood, inside the barn, the tires on my grandfather's old tractor, the one Karen called unsightly farm equipment in court, have been slashed. I stand there, staring at the damage. I call the sheriff again. Martinez comes out, takes photos, files a report. "Any witnesses?" "Security cameras." "No cameras. It's a farm, not Fort Knox. I'll put it in the report." But without evidence, I know. Without evidence, there's nothing they can do. That same day, Karen posts in her Facebook group, Diane sends me a screenshot. "Interesting news from the farmhouse. Guess karma works in mysterious ways." I forward the screenshot to Grace. "It's not enough for a lawsuit," she says. She didn't admit to anything. But keep documenting. Save everything. I'm documenting. I'm saving everything, but I'm also running out of patience. Late November, I walk out to the chicken coop one morning and find 3 of my hens dead. I stand. They're frozen. These aren't just chickens. I've had them for years. I know their personalities. The Rhode Island Red, who always pecks at my boots. The smaller one, who's shy, hides in the corner. They're pets. 2 others are alive but sick, stumbling, breathing hard. I scoop them up, rush them to the vet in town. The vet examines them, runs tests. "Antifreeze poisoning," she says. Someone fed them something. These 2 might make it, but it's touch and go. I feel something break inside me. I call the sheriff again. Martinez comes out, examines the coop. "No signs of forced entry," he says. "Someone just walked in. My property isn't fenced on the side facing the subdivision. People can access it easily. If they want to, I'll file the report," Martinez says. "But unless we catch someone in the act, ... I know," I say quietly. "I know." That night, I sit on the porch staring at the dark subdivision. Lights glow in the windows of the houses. Families inside, eating dinner, watching TV, living their lives. One of them poisoned my chickens. I'm done being patient. I call Grace. Check. Karen Whitmore's mortgage records, I say. How far behind is she? There's a pause. Daniel, ... Are you sure? She killed my chickens, Grace. She's been harassing me for months. Vandalizing my property, organizing protests. I've been patient. I've been fair. I'm done, Grace sighs. Let me pull the records. The next day, she calls back. Karen is 120 days past due, Grace says. For months, that puts her officially in the foreclosure window. Can I proceed? Legally? Yes. But Daniel, if you foreclose on her now, she'll say it's retaliation. The optics, I don't care about optics, I say. She stopped paying her mortgage. That's a breach of contract. I'm enforcing the terms she agreed to. This isn't retaliation. It's accountability. The timing will look suspicious. The timeline shows she stopped paying in June before the lawsuit was even filed. The facts are on my side. Grace is quiet for a moment. You're sure about this? I'm sure. All right, she says. I'll draft the foreclosure notice. I hang up and sit on the porch, watching the sun set over the farmhouse. Karen thought she could push me until I broke. Thought I'd eventually give up, sell the property, disappear. She was wrong. I don't break. I just stop being merciful. Karen Whitmore wakes up early on a cold December morning. The kind where frost covers the windows and your breath clouds in the air. She's about to make coffee when she notices something taped to her front door. A certified letter. Large envelope. Official dash looking. She opens the door, pulls it off. Her hands are already shaking before she even opens it. Notice of foreclosure of Riverside Community. Bank is hereby initiating foreclosure proceedings on the property located at 42 Heritage Oak Drive. Pursuant to default on mortgage loan number 478-29921, borrower is currently 120 days past due on mortgage payments. Total arrearage, $18,400, including 4 months of missed payments plus late fees and administrative costs. Borrower has 30 days to cure the default by paying the total arrearage in full or vacate the property. Failure to comply will result in foreclosure, sale, and eviction proceedings. Karen's legs go weak. She sits down hard on the entryway floor, still holding the letter. $18,400. She doesn't have it. The real estate market has been brutal for the past 6 months. Commissions down, sales falling through, clients backing out. She's been living on credit cards, juggling bills, telling herself she'd catch up once the next closing went through. But the closings keep getting delayed, and now it's too late. She pulls out her phone with trembling hands, dials Mitchell Carver. 7 a.m., but this is an emergency. He answers on the 4th ring, voice groggy. Karen, he's foreclosing on me. Her voice cracks. Daniel Reeves. He's foreclosing. There's a pause. She hears Mitchell moving, probably sitting up in bed. Did you stop paying your mortgage? I had a rough few months. I was going to catch up. How far behind are you? For months. Mitchell's sigh is long. And heavy, Karen? Then he has every legal right to foreclose. This isn't retaliation. You've breached the contract. But the timing, it's right after the lawsuit. After everything doesn't matter, Mitchell says. You stopped paying in June. The lawsuit wasn't filed until October. The timeline proves you were already in default before any of this started. He's within his rights. Can't I fight it? On what grounds? Mitchell's voice is sharp now. You owe the money. You didn't pay. There's no defense here, Karen. This is basic contract law. Karen feels tears burning in her eyes. What do I do? The $18,400 in full within 30 days or lose the house. I don't have that kind of money. Then you're going to lose your house. Mitchell pauses. I'm sorry, Karen, but you did this to yourself. He hangs up. Karen sits on the floor of her entryway, staring at the foreclosure notice. Crying. Within an hour, Karen posts in her Facebook group, the one with 47 members. Daniel Reeves is foreclosing on my home. This is retaliation for standing up to him. He's using his power as a banker to destroy anyone who opposes him. This is what happens when you challenge the rich and powerful. Please share this. People need to know what kind of man he is. The responses start coming in immediately. This is criminal. We need to protest again. Don't let him get away with this. But then other comments start appearing. Wait, did you stop paying your mortgage? Why should he let you slide when everyone else has to pay? You filed a lawsuit against him, and now you're surprised there are consequences. You got yourself into this, Karen. The support she expected isn't there. The group that once rallied behind her is fracturing. Some people are defending her, but more are questioning her. The narrative is shifting. Karen watches the comments stack up, feeling the ground crumble beneath her. That same week, 6 other homeowners in Magnolia Heights receive identical foreclosure notices. Brad Morrison, the former HOA vice president, finds his tape to the door just like Karen did. He's 2 months behind, $9,200 owed. He's been struggling since his company did layoffs. He thought he had time to catch up. Lisa Vaughn, the former secretary, gets hers in the mail. 3 months behind, $13,800. Her husband lost his job in September. They've been burning through savings. For others, Maria Santos, Greg Palmer, Keith Robbins, and Jennifer Huang all received notices. All were vocal supporters of the lawsuit. All signed the petition demanding Daniel leave. And all are between 60 and 120 days overdue on their mortgages. 7 foreclosures total. All at once, panic spreads through Magnolia Heights like wildfire. Residents start frantically checking their mortgage accounts, making sure they're current. Some make extra payments just to be safe. Others call the bank, demanding confirmation that they're not on the list. Tom Hendricks, the current HOA president, calls an emergency meeting. It's held at the community center on a Thursday evening. 140 residents show up, the largest turnout in the subdivision's history. Tom stands at the front of the room, looking tired. He's been fielding phone calls and angry emails. For 2 days straight, let me be very clear, he says, voice firm. Daniel Reeves is not randomly foreclosing on people. Every single person who received a notice is behind on their mortgage payments. Some by 2 months, some by 4. If you're current on your payments, you have nothing to worry about. Karen stands up from the back row. Her face is blotchy, eyes red. This is targeted. He's punishing us for the lawsuit. Tom turns to face her. You stopped paying your mortgage, Karen. That's not punishment. That's consequences. Brad Morrison stands up too. I'm only 2 months behind. That's not foreclosure worthy. Actually, legally it is, Tom says. Most banks offer grace periods and work with borrowers, but they're not required to. You signed a contract, you agreed to make payments, you stopped paying.
Ow.
Daniel Reeves is enforcing the contract. That's his right.
Ow.
Lisa Vaughn is crying now. What are we supposed to do? Tom's expression softens slightly. Pay what you owe, or lose your houses. I'm sorry, but those are the only options. The room erupts into arguments. Some people defend the foreclosed homeowners, saying Daniel is being cruel. Others say they brought it on themselves. The meeting devolves into chaos until Tom finally adjourns it early. Karen tries everything. She calls her sister in North Carolina, asks to borrow the money. Her sister refuses. Karen, I don't have $18,000 lying around, and even if I did, you'd never pay me back. She calls friends. No one has that kind of cash to lend. She applies for a personal loan at 3 different banks. All deny her. Her credit score has tanked from the missed mortgage payments. She tries to list her house for a short sale, selling it for less than she owes and asking the bank to accept the reduced amount. She fills out the paperwork, submits it to Riverside Community Bank. 3 days later, she gets a response. Short sale denied. Property appraisal indicates current market value exceeds outstanding loan amount. Full payment of arrearage required. Translation: her house is worth more than she owes. The bank won't take a loss when they don't have to. In desperation, Karen drives to Daniel's farmhouse. It's late afternoon, the sun low in the sky. She parks on the gravel driveway, walks up to the porch, and knocks. Daniel opens the door. He's wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, holding a cup of coffee. He looks at her but says nothing. "Please," Karen says. Her voice is shaking. "I know I made mistakes. I know I went too far. Please, give me more time. I'll pay you back. I swear. Just don't take my house." Daniel's expression doesn't change. "You had time, Karen. You had months. You spent that time vandalizing my property, organizing protests, poisoning my chickens, and making my life hell. Now you want mercy? Didn't poison your chickens. You orchestrated everything else," Daniel says calmly. "You filed a lawsuit trying to take my home. You harassed me for 18 months. You turned my neighbors against me. And now you want me to save your house?" Karen's crying now, tears streaming down her face. "I made mistakes. I'm sorry. Please." Daniel looks at her for a long moment. "You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you're losing. There's a difference. Please. ... You have 30 days, Daniel says. "I suggest you use them to find somewhere else to live." He closes the door. Karen stands on the porch, sobbing, and turns and walks back to her car. 30 days pass. December bleeds into January. The holidays come and go. None of the 7 homeowners can come up with the money. The foreclosure sales are scheduled. Local media picks up the story. Bank CEO forecloses on 7 neighbors, and HOA dispute reporter interviews Karen outside her house, cameras rolling. She's lost weight, looks exhausted. "He's destroying families," she says, voice raw. 7 families, losing their homes right before Christmas. This is what happens when one person has too much power. The reporter tries to get a comment from Daniel, calls his office, shows up at the farmhouse. Daniel declines every interview. The foreclosure sales are completed in mid-January 2026. All 7 properties revert to Riverside Community Bank ownership. Sheriff's deputies serve eviction notices. Karen has 2 weeks to vacate. She packs her belongings in cardboard boxes, loads them into a U-Haul she rented with her last credit card. She's moving into a small rental apartment across town, 1 bedroom. $1,200 a month. In a neighborhood she used to drive through quickly with the doors locked. Her real estate career is finished. A foreclosure on her record means her credit is destroyed. Her license is still valid. No one wants to hire an agent who couldn't manage her own finances. As she's loading the last boxes, neighbors walk past. Some look sympathetic. Most just look away. Diane Chen, Daniel's friendly neighbor, walks by with her dog. She stops, looks at Karen. "You brought this on yourself, Karen." Karen doesn't respond. She climbs into the U-Haul and drives away. Daniel stands on his porch that afternoon, watching the moving truck pull out of Karen's driveway. House sits empty now, windows dark. His phone rings. "Grace, 7 foreclosures," she says. "You know what people are saying about you? That I'm ruthless?" "Yes." Daniel leans against the porch railing. "Good, maybe they'll think twice before they mess with me again." "What are you going to do with the houses?" Daniel looks out at the subdivision. 7 empty houses now, 7 families. Displaced, he feels the weight of it, but he doesn't regret it. "I have an idea," he says. "But first, I'm going to let things settle." Grace is quiet for a moment. "You won, Daniel." "I know, but it doesn't feel like winning, does it?" Daniel doesn't answer. He hangs up and sits down in the old rocking chair. Karen is gone. But the story isn't over, because Daniel isn't done making a point. The story exploded in late January 22/6. What started as a local news segment turned into regional coverage and state coverage, the national outlets picking it up as a human interest story. The headlines got more dramatic with each retelling. Billionaire banker evicts 7 families in HOA feud. "I'm not a billionaire. My bank has $400 million in assets. I'm comfortable, but I'm not running a Fortune 500 company." Didn't matter. The narrative was too good. Wealthy CEO ruthlessly destroys working families over a petty property dispute. Photos circulated online. Karen loading boxes into a U-Haul, tears on her face. Brad Morrison's kids watching as movers cleared out there. How's Lisa Vaughn sitting on her front steps, head in her hands, and me? I was the villain. The cold-hearted banker who cared more about a rundown, his farmhouse, than human lives. The hate mail started immediately. Emails flooded into the bank's general inbox. You're a monster. Do you sleep at night? I hope you lose everything like those families did. Some were coherent, angry, but reasonable. Others were unhinged, full of threats and obscenities. My assistant, Linda Perkins, called me one afternoon. Daniel, we're getting dozens of calls a day. People demanding we fire you. They don't understand you own the bank. Ignore it, I said. It'll blow over. There are protesters outside the building. I paused. What? About 15 or 20 people? They've been here since this morning, signs chanting. Banks are predators, homes are human rights, that kind of thing. I rubbed my eyes. Call security, make sure everyone stays safe. Don't engage with them. The staff is worried, Daniel. Worried about the bank's reputation. Worried about their jobs. Their jobs are fine. The bank is fine. This will pass. But I wasn't sure I believed it. Karen went on television 3 days after the evictions. Local news interview. Morning show. Didn't watch it live, but Grace sent me a recording. Karen sits in a chair across from the interviewer, looking smaller than I remember. Her hair is pulled back, no makeup, wearing a plain sweater. She looks like someone who's been through hell. I fell behind on my mortgage because the real estate market was slow, Karen says, voice trembling. I was going to catch up. I had commissions coming in, but Daniel Reeves didn't give me a chance. He used his power to destroy me because I stood up to him. The interviewer nods sympathetically. And you believe this was retaliation? Absolutely, Karen says. He poisoned the whole neighborhood against me. He used his money and his position to manipulate everyone. He's a bully. Couldn't handle someone challenging him, so he destroyed me. Mr. Reeves claims you harassed him for months. Karen shakes her head. I was advocating for property standards. It's not harassment. I was trying to protect our community's property values. That's my job as a real estate professional. About the vandalism? The interviewer asks. The protest on his property? I never vandalized anything, Karen says firmly. And the protest was peaceful. We were exercising our First Amendment rights. He called the police on us like we were criminals. The interview ends with Karen crying, I lost everything. My home. My reputation, my career, and for what? Because I asked a rich man to paint his house? I turned off the recording, feeling sick. Grace's advice was simple. Don't comment, don't engage, let it blow over. I tried. I stayed silent. But it was eating at me. Clients started canceling. 3 small businesses moved their accounts to other banks. Our Yelp page got flooded with 1-star reviews. Evil, predatory lender. Avoid at all costs. They'll take your home over nothing. My board of directors called an emergency meeting. Roger Lynn, retired banker in his 60s, led the charge. Daniel, this is affecting the business. Deposits are down. Loan applications are down. Our reputation is taking a hit. You need to respond. What do you want me to say? I asked. That I foreclosed on people who stopped paying their mortgages. It's what banks do. That's how the system works. The optics are terrible, Roger said. Patricia Gomes, an attorney and another board member, leaned forward. Roger's right. Now all anyone sees is 7 families evicted by a banker in a grudge match. You look vindictive. They stopped paying before the lawsuit was even filed, I said. The timeline proves it. Then make that public, Patricia said. Show the receipts. Show the evidence. Right now, Karen Whitmore controls the narrative, and she's painting you as a villain. I sat back in my chair, thinking, I hated the idea of going public. I'm a private person. I don't do interviews. I don't seek attention. But Patricia was right. Karen was controlling the story, and I was losing. Right, I said finally. I'll do one interview, but it has to be someone fair, someone who will actually investigate. Grace suggested Marcus Webb, a local investigative reporter. At 40s, worked for the Richmond Times-Dispatch, had a reputation for being thorough and fair. I agreed. The interview took place at my farmhouse on a cold February afternoon. Marcus arrived with a cameraman and a notepad, professional but not hostile. We sat on my porch, same place I sit every morning with my coffee. Mr. Reeves, Marcus began. Critics say you foreclosed on 7 families as retaliation for an HOA lawsuit. What's your response? It's false, I said. All 7 homeowners were behind on their mortgage payments before the lawsuit was ever filed. Karen Whitmore, for example, stopped paying in June 2025. The lawsuit wasn't filed until October. I didn't. Even though she was behind on payments until after the case was dismissed and my bank sent routine notices. Why foreclose now? Why not work out payment plans? We tried, I said. My bank sent multiple notices to all 7 homeowners. We offered payment plans, extensions, every option we legally could. All 7 refused to engage or couldn't come up with the funds. And in Karen's case specifically, while she was ignoring her mortgage obligations, she was vandalizing my property, organizing harassment campaigns, and making my life hell. Marcus leaned forward. You have evidence of that? Yes, I handed him. A folder. Police reports documenting vandalism's mashed mailbox, graffiti on my barn/tires, vet bills for my poisoned chickens, screenshots of Karen's Facebook group where she celebrated the vandalism, text messages from other residents, describing her obsession with driving me out. Marcus flipped through the documents, nodding. I gave her every chance to act like an adult, I said. She chose harassment instead. And when her mortgage came due, I enforced the contract she signed. That's not retaliation. That's accountability. Marcus spent the next week investigating. He contacted the sheriff's office, verified the police reports. He interviewed other residents of Magnolia Heights. He pulled mortgage records, confirmed the payment timelines. His follow-up article ran the following Sunday. The full story. What really happened in Magnolia Heights, the article was thorough, detailed, and fair. It included a timeline showing that all 7 homeowners had stopped paying months before the lawsuit. It showed evidence of Karen's harassment, campaign vandalism, protests, social media posts. It quoted other residents who confirmed Karen's obsession. Karen was relentless. One neighbor said she wouldn't let it go. She made it her personal mission to get rid of Daniel. She brought this on herself, another resident said. She stopped paying her mortgage and spent her time harassing him instead of fixing her finances. The article went viral locally first, then regionally. Public opinion shifted almost overnight. Comments under the article. Okay, so he didn't just randomly evict people. She poisoned his chickens? She deserved it. Why is no one talking about the harassment he endured? Some people still defended Karen. Banks shouldn't have this much power. Foreclosure is cruel no matter the circumstances. But the majority opinion had changed. She stopped paying her mortgage and harassed him for months. Actions have consequences. Karen's troubles didn't end with losing her house. 2 weeks after Marcus's article ran, the Virginia Real Estate Board suspended her license. An investigation triggered by the publicity around the lawsuit found that she'd failed to disclose conflicts of interest in prior deals and had misrepresented property values to clients. Her license was suspended pending a formal review. Grace told me it would likely be revoked permanently. Karen filed for bankruptcy in March. Then, 3 months after moving into her rental apartment, she was evicted again. Noise complaints, conflicts with neighbors. She moved in with her sister. In North Carolina, the other 6 foreclosed homeowners quietly moved on. Brad Morrison found a rental apartment, set up a payment plan, started rebuilding his credit. Lisa Vaughn divorced. Her husband's financial stress had destroyed the marriage. Moved to a different city to start over. The others scattered, some staying local, some leaving Virginia entirely. None of them publicly blamed me anymore. They knew they'd stop paying. They knew the consequences. One evening in late February, Grace came to visit. We sat on the porch. Watching the sun set over the farmhouse, you won, she said. The story's out. Your reputation's recovering. Karen's gone. I didn't want to win, I said. I wanted to be left alone. You were left alone. Now you are again. I looked out at the subdivision, Lights glowing in the windows. Families inside, living their lives. 7 houses still sat empty, dark. At what cost, I asked. 7 families lost their homes. 7 families stopped paying their mortgages and harassed you, Grace said firmly. You enforced the contracts they signed. That's not cruelty, Daniel. That's accountability. It still feels heavy. Grace was quiet for a moment. It's because you're a good person, but good people are allowed to defend themselves. You didn't start this, Karen did. You just finished it. I nodded, but the weight didn't lift. The foreclosures were over. The media storm was fading. Karen was gone, but I still owned 7 empty houses in a subdivision that had spent the last year hating me. It was time to do something about that. February 2026, 7 houses sit empty in Magnolia Heights. The windows are dark, the driveways bare. No cars, no lights, no signs of life. They stand like ghosts in the middle of the subdivision, reminders of what happened when the neighborhood went to war with Daniel Reeves. Riverside Community Bank owns all 7 properties now. Legally, Daniel could sell them on the open market, recover his losses, maybe even turn a profit. Market value for homes in the subdivision is still strong, $700,000 to $900,000 each. But Daniel has a different idea. He calls Tom Hendricks, the current HOA president, and asks for a meeting. Tom agrees immediately. He's been trying to repair the neighborhood's relationship with Daniel for months. The meeting is held at the community center on a Tuesday evening. Tom brings 3 other board members, Janice Wu, an accountant in her 40s, Diane Chen, Daniel's friendly neighbor, and Robert Kim, a retired engineer. Grace Chen sits beside Daniel, her briefcase open on the table in front of her. Thank you for coming, Daniel says. He's wearing jeans and a button-down shirt, relaxed. But serious, of course, Tom says. What did you want to discuss? Daniel leans forward. I want to dissolve the HOA. The room goes silent. Tom blinks. What? The HOA, Daniel repeats. I want it dissolved, terminated, gone. Janice Wu frowns. Mr. Reeves, you can't just dissolve an HOA. We have bylaws, a legal structure. There are covenants attached to every property deed. Grace interrupts smoothly. Actually, you can. Under Virginia law, if 75% of homeowners vote to dissolve the HOA, it's terminated. All covenants, rules, and restrictions end. The properties revert to standard zoning regulations. Tom looks stunned. Why would homeowners vote? For that? Because I'm going to make them an offer, Daniel says. He explains. Daniel will sell the 7 foreclosed homes back to the community at 20% below market value. House for $560,000. It's a significant discount, enough to attract buyers who couldn't otherwise afford homes in the subdivision. But there's a catch. The HOA must be dissolved first, and all buyers must agree to permanent covenants protecting Daniel's property. No future lawsuits, no harassment, no attempts to force him to alter or sell his land. Grace slides a document across the table. It's legal. It protects Mr. Reeves and gives the community a chance to buy quality homes at reduced prices. Everyone wins. Tom picks up the document, reads it slowly. And if we don't agree, Daniel's expression doesn't change. Then I sell the houses on the open market. Whoever buys them, buys them. And the HOA stays intact with me holding the mortgages on 167 of your homes. Your choice. Tom looks at the other board members. Janice is reading the document. Diane is nodding slowly. Robert looks thoughtful. Can we bring this to the full membership? Tom asks. That's why I'm here, Daniel says. Tom calls an emergency. HOA meeting for the following Saturday. 160 residents show up, almost the entire subdivision. The community center is packed. Folding chairs fill the room, people standing along the walls. The energy is tense but curious. Tom stands at the front, holding the proposal. Daniel Reeves has made an offer. He's willing to sell the 7 foreclosed homes at 20% below market value. But he's asking for 2 things in return. The dissolution of the HOA and protective covenants on his property, preventing future legal action or harassment. The room erupts into murmurs. Why should we dissolve the HOA? Someone shouts from the back. Because it's caused nothing but problems, Tom says bluntly. It gave Karen Whitmore a platform to harass a man who'd done nothing wrong. It led to a lawsuit we lost, foreclosures, bad publicity, and a year of chaos. What has the HOA actually done for us? Janice Wu stands. I'll be honest. I've been on the board for 2 years. Most of what we do is argue about paint colors and mailbox styles. The HOA hasn't improved property values. It's just created conflict. Diane Chen stands next. I've lived here 3 years. The HOA has done nothing but cause problems. It gave people like Karen power to bully others. I vote to dissolve it. A man near the front, Jeff Torres, mid-30s, works in finance, stands up. This feels like extortion. He's forcing us to give up our HOA, or he won't sell the houses. It's not extortion, Tom says. He owns the houses. He can do whatever he wants with them. He could sell them at full price to anyone. Instead, he's offering us a discount. That's a gift, not a threat. Another resident, Amanda Pierce, the teacher who'd confronted Karen at the courthouse, stands. I'm tired of the drama. If dissolving the HOA means we can move on, I'm in favor. The debate continues for 30 minutes. Some residents argue that HOAs protect property values, maintain standards, provide structure. Others argue that this HOA has only caused harm. Finally, Tom calls for a vote. All in favor of dissolving the Magnolia Heights Homeowners Association and accepting Mr. Reeves's offer, raise your hand. Hands go up across the room. Tom counts. Janice counts. Diane counts. 142 votes in favor. 38 opposed. 79%. The motion passes. The HOA is officially dissolved. Daniel lists the 7 homes 2 days later, priced 20% below market. The listings go live on a Tuesday morning. By Friday, all 7 have. Offers a young couple in their late 20s, first-time home buyers who'd been priced out of the market by Karen's former house. They're ecstatic. We never thought we'd be able to afford something like this, the wife says, crying as she signs the paperwork. A family relocating from California for a job buys Brad Morrison's old house. The discount made all the difference, the father says. We were worried about the move, but this makes it possible. An investor buys 2 of the homes, plans to rent them out to young professionals. The remaining 3 are purchased by local families, all grateful for the opportunity. Every buyer signs the covenant protecting Daniel's property. No one objects. Daniel closes the sales within 3 weeks. He nets a small profit, enough to cover the bank's administrative costs, but far less than he could have made selling at full market value. He's fine with that. Peace is worth more than money. March 2026. Magnolia Heights is quieter now. There are no more HOA meetings, no more violation notices, no more arguments about paint colors or lawn height or holiday decorations. Residents maintain their properties voluntarily, and most do fine. The neighborhood looks the same as it did before. It's attractive, it's organized, but the tension is gone. Daniel continues living in his farmhouse. In early April, he hires a crew to paint the exterior. Not because anyone forced him, not because of a lawsuit or a protest, but because he wants to. The fresh white paint brightens the house, makes it look cared for without erasing its history. He repairs the barn, too, places some rotted boards, reinforces the frame. It still leans a little. He likes it that way, but it's stable now. He gets new chickens. 6 Rhode Island Reds, just like before. He names them after his favorite historical figures. Eleanor, Harriet, Rosa, Amelia, Marie, Ada. They follow him around the yard, clucking expectantly whenever he appears. When he walks to his mailbox now, neighbors wave. Some stop to chat. The hostility is gone, Karen Whitmore is still in North Carolina. She's living with her sister in a small town outside Charlotte, working retail at a furniture store. Her bankruptcy was discharged in May. Her credit score is slowly climbing back from the wreckage. She posts on Facebook occasionally vague complaints about injustice, about the system being rigged, about how the powerful always win. But no one from Magnolia Heights engages. No one comments. No one shares. She's become a cautionary tale. The woman who picked a fight with the wrong neighbor and lost everything. Spring 2026. Daniel sits on his porch one Saturday morning, drinking coffee, watching the sun rise over the farmhouse. Grace Chen pulls into the driveway, gets out of her car. She's wearing jeans and a sweater casual, off-duty. She climbs the porch steps, sits in the chair beside him. "How's retirement?" she asks. Daniel smiles. "I'm not retired. Still run the bank. You know what I mean? How's life?" "Quiet," Daniel says. "The way it should be." Grace looks out at the fields, the barn, the chickens pecking in the grass. "Any regrets?" Daniel thinks for a moment about the foreclosures. Sometimes 7 families lost their homes. It's heavy no matter the circumstances. They made their choices, Grace says. "You made yours." "I know, but it still sits with me." Grace nods. "That's because you're a good person. But you protected your home, your family's legacy. That matters." "It does." Grace grins. "And you dissolved an HOA. That's a public service." Daniel laughs. "Someone should put that on my tombstone." They sit in comfortable silence, watching the morning unfold. Summer 2026. Daniel is kneeling in his garden, pulling weeds when he hears footsteps approaching. He looks up. A man in his early 30s is walking across the lawn. Marcus Chen, one of the new residents who bought a foreclosed home. "Hey, Daniel," Marcus says, smiling. "I'm grilling tonight. Burgers, hot dogs, the whole deal. Want to come over? Meet the family?" Daniel stands, brushing dirt off his jeans. He's surprised. It's the first time a neighbor has invited him to anything. "In years, sure," Daniel says. "I'd like that." Marcus grins. "Great. Around 6. And hey, thanks again for the deal on the house. Couldn't have afforded this place otherwise. You made it possible for us. You're welcome." Marcus walks back toward his house, and Daniel watches him go. He sits down on the porch steps, smiling. To himself, Grace was right. Dissolving the HOA really was a public service. Daniel Reeves never wanted a war. He just wanted to live in the house his great-grandfather built, on the land his family had worked for 130 years. He wanted to wake up in the morning and feed his chickens, sit on his porch and watch the sunrise, tend his garden in peace. But when Karen Whitmore and the HOA tried to take that from him, when they sued him, harassed him, vandalized his property, poisoned his animals, they learned a hard lesson. Don't mistake humility for weakness, and don't pick fights with people who hold all the cards. Daniel didn't start the fight, but he finished it. And when it was over, he didn't gloat. He didn't punish the subdivision. He gave them a path forward, a way to move on, rebuild, coexist, because that's what Daniel does. He builds, he protects, he endures. Late summer evening. Daniel stands on his porch, looking out at the farmhouse. The paint is fresh now, the barn repaired. The chickens are safe in their coop. The garden is full of tomatoes and cucumbers, just like his father used to grow. Beyond the property line, the subdivision glows with evening lights. Families inside, living their lives. No HOA meetings, no conflict. Just neighbors, coexisting. Daniel takes a sip of his coffee, still hot from the pot inside. He's not rich because he owns a bank. He's rich because he gets to stay home.